Now you're recording. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm Shamim from UGM. So what we are going to discuss today is how Qualtrics and UGM were able to help Autodesk in its initial stages of the CX journey. And we'll deep dive into that, but I thought that before deep diving into the specific use case, I'll just set the context just at a high level. Probably it might sound repetitive to all the keynotes, what Ryan spoke about, but I thought there's no harm in reinforcing. So as we know, disruption is all around us. Thanks to all the mobile devices, I typically say thanks to all the nerds in the Bay Areas and to the ubiquity of devices, data everywhere, traditional businesses have started to become obsolete very rapidly. Right? We are all aware of these bankruptcies in the past few years. And we are also aware of these giants making giant strides. However, it's not all gloom and doom. Companies who have been able to deliver a differentiated product and customer experience, they not only survive, but they thrive. And in the scheme of all these things, UGM, an analytics company, we help customers in the retail, manufacturing, and the distribution space, either directly or through agencies and consulting companies. And how we do that? We do that, I know in the predict IQ context, that might make a lot of sense. So we do that by these four analytics, helping them answer what has happened, what has been happening, why it has happened, and what is likely to happen, just like the red buttons that Jared showed. Okay, so what's likely to happen, and then probably what action could one take apart from giving the books that were given today. And this is all coupled with our proprietary machine learning technology and what we call as machine learning coupled with human judgment. We call that as augmented intelligence. And in the scheme of these things, I think a year and a half back, Qualtrics and UGM, we decided let's partner, and we think that UGM's data and analytics capability coupled with the experience management platform, we will be able to delight our customers and help them to make better, impactful business decisions. These are the four levers of our partnership. I'll not deep dive into that, but it's mainly around innovation, the industry leadership, industry knowledge, and the software leadership, the scale at which we can do the service, and our flexible engagement model. Or someone is clicking pictures, I'll just hold. Okay. And so, as you see in this statement, what we have been able to achieve in the last 18 months, we are able to help refine and execute your XM strategy, and refine is the key word in that statement. And maybe an analogy is like how we all come to conferences to learn about how our peers are doing in the CX space, how different industries are doing in the CX space. We at Qualtrics and UGM, we are in this unique position where we have exposure to CX journeys of multiple industries or different companies within the same organization. And we have our own expertise as well, but as you get exposed, you kind of learn more. So we are in that unique position. So we help consult and suggest you, hey, probably you can increase a touch point, probably you can do things a little better. So we help consult and implement. Now I'll go to the last one. We feel that the best way to leverage any technology is to integrate with your tech ecosystem. I'm pretty sure in your respective organizations in the past, you might have seen you just purchase a license, but someone uses it for a couple of months and then it's all there. And the next time you see the license is when the renewal comes. So we believe that unless you integrate that with your tech ecosystem, you can't best leverage the technology. And the third is just like how all our customer journeys are different, how all companies deliver a different value to customers. We believe that there is always need to design some custom solutions around that. And with this partnership, in the last 18 months, we've helped customers from North America to Australia to Singapore, UK, Middle East, and this is across multiple brands, several implementations, and complex integrations. And to talk a little, to deep dive into that, I'm pretty sure David will share about how he has been evangelizing CX at Autodesk, or maybe let me not eat into much of his presentation, but David will share about CX at Autodesk, and I will hand it over to David. Thank you.
Thank you. Worked well in the test. All right, thank you, Shamim. So people always say, David, who do you work for? And I say, Autodesk. And they say, who's Autodesk? And I'll say, do you know AutoCAD? Yeah, I know AutoCAD. So, well, that's us. But we do a lot more. So I'm going to show you a 60-second video to give you some insights into Autodesk.
We make software for people who make things, like your car, your house, your city, and even last night's creepy alien. But that's just for starters. We also make software that talks to robots, 3D prints fashion, and folds DNA. This is software for tomorrow, because the future is coming, and it is impatient, and it most certainly won't be quiet. And it will change us all. How we design, how we collaborate, how we build, how we make. It doesn't matter who you are. We all have a stake in what's next. Because the challenges are mounting, and they'll need solutions we haven't even thought of. So it's time to get to work. At Autodesk, we give you the power to make anything. What are you gonna do with it?
Pretty cool, right? Yeah. Did you see that big hand in the, I need to figure out what that was, because that was a little bit scary. I don't know what that was about. Before I keep going, I'm going to set expectations. One thing I've learned in customer success is you really have to set expectations. What do you guys think of Arianna Huffington? I'm not going to be that good. Lin-Manuel? I haven't even seen Hamilton, so forget about it. I don't talk super fast. You may have noticed that. However, I do like to walk around like magic, and as I walk by, if you want to take a selfie, just let me know. But hopefully I'll keep you entertained enough where it's a good use of your time and you don't feel like you're falling asleep, or you can continue to be digitally detoxed. So Autodesk makes software. I love this tagline. I've been with Autodesk 14 years. They've been around 36 years. And I've seen a lot of change. And it's a great place to work. I would highly recommend it. Always trying new things. Leadership walks the talk. You can see that we make software for manufacturing, architecture, engineering, construction, media and entertainment, which is, from my perspective, the really cool part, because I'm not a technician or a technical person. I'm a service person, right? Pretty good revenue. It's about a year or two old. A lot of subscribers and a lot of employees around the globe. So a lot of customers historically focused in the professional space. But the past 3 or 4 years, you'll start to find our apps on the App Store and I think on Android as well. So you can use our apps on the iPhone. It's a way of making people more aware of what Autodesk does, because most people don't know, right? We're really in the background, excuse me, of all these designers. And lastly, we've always been in the education space. It's very important for us to continue to have people use our tools very early on and then bring it into the industry. Frame story. Anybody seen Blade Runner? Yeah, me neither. Yeah. What I'm showing you up here is some of the cool ways that our customers use our software. So Framestore just won an Academy Award for visual effects last Sunday. Last 23 years, the studios nominated for special effects have been Autodesk customers. We have Oscars up in our office in Toronto, which is where a lot of the developers are. That's pretty cool. Walt Disney Animation Studios used Maya to do Moana, one of my favorite movies. Me and my daughter love that one. MWH, Panama Canal, when they did the redesign on that, so engineering and construction, right? Tesla Motors, as well as many other automobile manufacturers, use our software in designing their cars. And then I put Grimsmo knives up there just to show you. It's anything from effects to automobiles to a guy designing a pocket knife, right? So it's pretty cool with people that use our stuff. But let's talk about me. So I'm in customer success services, and Autodesk is going through a lot of change. Past 3 years, we've been moving from perpetual licensing to subscription, right? We're building products in the cloud now. Why we do all of that. And Autodesk is really focused on becoming a customer company. We have fantastic technology, but I remember our former CEO on stage a few years ago saying to our user conference, much like this one, we know how hard we are to work with. And so the past 4 or 5 years, and really the last 2, we've really been ramping up on this whole customer-focused idea. And the idea is to match, understand why our customers are using our software, what outcomes do they get with it. Is it projects? What are they doing for their customers? It's really to get in and know their business and their workflows and their processes. No more, here's your software, see you in 3 years, right? It's continuous engagement with dedicated people on the account team. I talk to a lot of our customers, and they hate it when we take people off the team because we get to know their business so well that it feels like somebody's taken off the team. And in some ways, you have to start over again, unless we do a really good job of giving turnover and easing into it, right? So we really get to know our customers, and they like that a lot. One of the things I didn't mention, the program that I run is for our named accounts on enterprise agreements. So these are typically 3-year deals, hundreds if not millions of dollars. So that's our focus. Proactive support, I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then it's really, from a consulting side on the implementation, it's not just walking in and doing the project and leaving. It's why are we doing this? How do we make it better? Did you get value out of it? And did you get the outcome that you were looking for? So we're really in it together with our customers. So, EBAs, enterprise business agreements, 3-year deals. We got to make sure that we're bringing value. And from day one, when this organization formed, customer success has been in place as it is today, really since February, and the organization tripled in size because we brought all customer-facing organizations under a single vice president. But prior to that, it was limited to professional services, premium support, and customer success managers. So now we've got, I showed you those 3 spaces that we have of professional, small, medium business, and education. All the customer-facing people are all under the same SVP now, which is cool. For us, from day one, when we formed 4 years ago, our VP really put it into our head, what are you doing to deliver value? Because when renewal comes, the customer's saying, what value did I get, right? So now it's all about success plans, measurable objectives, those types of things. But it keeps us awake at night, but we got a cure. What you're looking at are all the touch points that I measure in our program. Is anybody else measuring? These are 8 touch points that we're measuring right now. Is anybody else measuring that many touch points? Cool, cool. Please, you guys connect with me. I'd love to talk with you about what you're doing. So we listen, right? That's gathering all the feedback. And then, as everybody knows, arguably the most important thing is to act on the feedback, because otherwise customers just feel like, why should I respond? It doesn't go anywhere, I never hear anything. So we have a very robust closed loop feedback on that. But let me walk through some of these for you. Reactive support is your typical closed case after a technical problem with our software. Reach out after the case is closed, we shoot you a support case, right? That's done electronically. 30 to 45 days in, so these are Autodesk customers that we're bringing into the enterprise space at Autodesk. So they've been Autodesk customers, but we're onboarding them and giving them all kinds of new bells and whistles and features of the enterprise offering. So we want to check in at the 30, 45 day mark depending on the engagement. This is a discussion with 2 or 3 people on the phone. Are you set up for, with your new licensing model? Are you set up with a success plan? Do you know who your account team is and what they do? How easy has it been to work with us so far? It's kind of an early check-in to make sure we're set up for success for the next 2 or 3 years. 90 to 100 day marks, the first QBR. That's done electronically, very short kind of check-in. How was the content? Was it a good use of your time? What would you like to see in the next QBR? Do you know what was delivered the last 90 days from a value perspective? Do you know what's going to be delivered the next 90 days? Proactive support, good example of this. If I bounce it off the reactive side, over a quarter, get 100 cases, the support specialist that's assigned to the account looks at all the cases and says, you know what? 60% of the volume was on the same product, same feature. Let's do a tailored webinar for that customer. And so we'll work with our stakeholders and arrange a tailored webinar. That's what we mean by proactive. Consulting is your typical professional services engagement. That and proactive are both electronic. We're checking in on value. Did you get the outcome that you want? Those types of things. Now the relationship survey, we're not weighting any of these right now. But if we were, this would be the most important one. And I suspect we'll get to that point in the next year or so. This is a 30-minute conversation 2 times per year with the decision maker or somebody that they've delegated that has significant influence, really the right-hand person, if you will, that's going to say, yeah, we should renew. Yeah, we're getting value, that type of thing. We've got a questionnaire on that, but it's really meant to be a discussion, right? This is kind of the ROI check-in. And is it, you get the perceived value, but then do you have real ROI as well? We record it, we transcribe it, and we disseminate it across the entire organization. So everybody knows whether the account team is doing well with that customer or not. So it's great when you have, we use NPS, by the way. It's great when you get the promoter and you get all this verbatim comment because it's very rich feedback, very rich feedback. But you got the flip side when you get a bad score, right? But the idea is everybody's going to learn from it. And that's really what we're all about. We're not trying to hide anything. So we're trying to learn best practices from one another. Events is the opposite of the tailored webinar. It's a one-to-many, kind of bringing in like-minded customers to talk about the same issues. So that's another way that we raise awareness on not only what other customers are doing, but maybe on new products, how to do process improvement, those types of things. And then lastly, the SEV1, a lot of our customers rely on our software for mission critical. M&E customers in particular, so when Lucasfilm is getting Star Wars ready, they don't want anything other than, if we call you, you better answer fast. So we got to make sure that that is a very robust process. So that one's done electronically as well. So our cure for insomnia is trying to understand value is all these touch points, right? So that's great, but what's the problem? Well, from an account team perspective, all the stuff below the waterline on the iceberg, the account team couldn't see. I don't know if you can read that. Essentially, everyone could see the relationship survey. I talked about that, right? Consulting they might see. It's shared, but it really depends if it had the attention of the account team or not, of the CSM, who's the post-sales services, support and services quarterback. So you've got all these other touch points that are very siloed where the reactive support team is dealing with the feedback they get, and they may or may not be sharing it with the account team. So everybody's basically flying blind, right? There's no unified view. I took over this role December of 2016, really got up and running in February of 2017, and immediately the CSM directors are saying, how do I see all this feedback in one place? If feedback is so important, how can I get it? Because they're going to Salesforce to get one piece, they're going to email for another piece, they're going to Qualtrics if they had access for another piece of data, right? It's terrible. So, of course, we had a solution. We reached out to the Qualtrics team. So we've been Qualtrics customers for years. My organization, using it just to gather the feedback and not do anything else. The relationship was owned by another group, right? So they connected us with the account team. And we talked with them about, we're gathering all this feedback, we need to act on it, and we are, but we aren't extremely visible on everything that we're doing. And we want to collect more feedback, and we want to start doing analysis. And we want to really share this information across the entire organization. So they said, hey, Vocalize is a great solution. We said, yeah, that sounds pretty good to us. So let's talk about that implementation. So this is where, let me tell you how I found out about UGAM. So I reached out to our CSM at Qualtrics via the folks that introduced us internally. And 6 or 7 weeks ago, Alina, my sales exec, calls me and says, hey, how'd you like to do a joint presentation with UGAM at the X4 conference? And I said, who's UGAM? And she goes, NK, because NK is the guy that we're working with all the time. And I had no idea. So really, kudos to Qualtrics and to UGAM for making it seamless from a customer perspective. Being in the customer success world, having CSMs, being a CSM manager previously, now being on the other side, it was a great experience. So I give them a lot of credit for that. What was cool was, when we sat down with these guys, they really listened. They asked a lot of questions about what we were doing, and they helped us define the problem better. They put the plan together, which thank God, because my team is me and one other person, right? So that was very helpful for them to put this great plan together because we could use that to communicate across the organization what we were doing, but it also was very helpful when we had our own team meetings to keep us on track, right? So that was very cool. You heard a little bit about UGAM from Shamim and what they do. That expertise and all that experience outside of the Qualtrics space combined with the Qualtrics space was very helpful because they were able to share with us a lot of great insights that they had seen with other customers, right? So that's kind of a nice 1-2 punch for them. And we were the beneficiaries of that. And then lastly, they know the Qualtrics platform, right? And they know a lot of other stuff. So it made it super seamless, super easy. We were up and running in, I think we were giving people access to the dashboard in 6 weeks. 2 weeks we had a prototype, 4 weeks we were in kind of beta mode, and 2 weeks later we released it. And we've just been maturing it ever since. So it could not have been an easier project from my perspective. So let's talk about the outcomes. That's all really cool. Now the account team can see everything, right? Everything, feedback's in one place, it's a unified view. I'm going to show you a little bit about what that looks like in a second. Everything's above the waterline now. And there's some good stuff that's come out of it. So, this is real data. As I mentioned, we use Net Promoter Score. I hid, all the confidential stuff, blah, blah, blah. But what's cool is, with this dashboard, if I were to click on any one of these things, if you were in the tool, has anybody got a dashboard using Vocalize? A couple people? Okay, so it's pretty cool, right? If I were to click on, let me go over here, hopefully. So this is our promoters, passives, and detractors, right? If I click on the promoters, everything in the entire dashboard changes to just promoter data. And whether that's by geo or by industry or by CSM or by CSM manager, by segment, whatever way you slice your data, the whole dashboard changes, which is really cool. It helps you with the analysis, right? We can compare across industry, promoters, that type of thing. This is we want to make sure on the relationship survey we're talking to the decision maker or the person with influence. So this is a way for us to track, are we talking to the right people? If not, why not? That's some of our Net Promoter stuff on the touch points. So we ask the Net Promoter score, and then we say, well, cool. Tell us why you gave that score. And then we say, how satisfied were you with the expertise of the consultant or the expertise of the specialist? Whatever's right for that particular touch points, we got 3 to 5 questions. That's just the average score. That's kind of a nice visual, and it ties in, which is really my favorite piece of data, which is this guy, this is the performance or how satisfied the customer was. This is the importance. So the red dot is it's important to the customer, but very poorly rated. So I'm in the tool, I hover over this, and it says the quality of the resolution is the problem. The specialist expertise is the problem. So then I just dig into that data, and I find out if I have a people, a process, or a technology problem. I fix it. Those dots go away, they move over to the right, because you want everything up in the upper right. They're happy, and it's important, right? It's a cool way to hone in on what the problem area is. These are your directly correlated with Net Promoter. So if we fix those, our Net Promoter for that touch point should go up. So you get the dashboard. People have access to it. What's happening? So for the first time, we're introducing customer sentiment data in the external-facing QBR. So you're able to show the decision makers or the influencers how all other end users and consumers of our services feel about consulting or reactive or proactive, which typically they say, I had no idea, which is nice. Or, of course, the opposite. We do the same thing on internal account reviews. Maybe an account's gone red, so first thing we look at is sentiment. Are they detractors or promoters? So we're using it internally. Closed loop action management, I talked about that. I'll show you some results in a second of how our closed loop action management is making a difference from an outcome perspective. Employee performance, so we're able to look across geo, across industry segments, look at CSM performance, what their NPS is. The same thing with the entire account team, with the sales exec, CSM manager. So it's a great way to use it as kind of peer-to-peer benchmarking. And then customer health reporting, we're really getting ready to launch our internal customer health dashboard and sentiment with all these touch points is a key component of that now. 6 months ago, none of that was happening, so that's really cool. So what's the business outcome, if you will, from my perspective as a program manager, right? I got to deliver value as well, otherwise they'll say, why are we doing this? This first bullet is with our relationship survey. So this is when we circle back the second time after getting feedback, and we're seeing 24% moving from detractor to promoter or detractor to passive or passive to promoter. Basically, they're moving to the right, if you will, right? That's because we're listening, customers know it, and we're doing something about it. One of the best quotes I had on a detractor last year was, if a company actually does something with this feedback, then that's a great thing. And we use them as a use case because we turned them, it was 2 guys we talked to. One was detractor, one was passive. We turned them both into promoters 6 months later, simply by listening to what they said. And then employees are happy. Let me skip that one first. Let me go back up. If you're an NPS person, you know that all the research is promoters are happier and they spend more, right? And then if we look at all of our renewals for last year, all the promoters renewed at a higher rate than passives and detractors. So that's a great thing. It's a great KPI. Great way to promote the program, promote Net Promoter Score, because we have internal debates on is NPS the right measure or not. It kind of shows that it is, right? And then lastly, employees are happier. They know where to get the data. They can see when they do well. We publish it everywhere, and they get a lot of kudos. Is anyone use Slack? A couple people. So Slack is taken off like wildfire at Autodesk, and every time we get a relationship survey, we post the results on Slack, so the entire organization sees it. So, and you get all kinds of the kudos and all the little icons you get, the likes. So it's cool. It's strange though, you never see anything of them when they're detractors. It's like, okay, we'll just let that one go. All right, I got to wrap it up here. So let me close out. So obviously, hopefully I've communicated, it's invaluable to have a 360 view, right? Having all this stuff in one place has really raised the awareness of the program. Most of the year it was, customer feedback's really important. But until we got this dashboard in place and people could actually see it, the adoption of and the interest across the entire organization is higher than it's ever has been. That feels really good to me as the program manager. And I mentioned earlier how easy it was to implement working with Qualtrics and UGOM. So would highly recommend it, which is my last slide and my promoter. Oh, hell yeah, absolutely. It was super cool. And then we turn it back to Shamim.
Thank you. Thanks, David. So to summarize, the UGOM advantage is the business know-how, the knowledge of the product and the underlying technology, and which coupled with analytics, which gives rise to an equation which is not as profound as this, but it has its own charm. We believe that if you couple it with analytics, that's not me, it helps you amplify your XM strategy. And if you try to connect this with what Jared spoke earlier today, the Predict IQ is the analytics. So we believe that experience data, operation data, coupled with analytics helps you amplify your XM strategy. So we are speaking about a similar session later in the day at 5 p.m. And those who missed the first one, it's there on the website to download. And if you look at the bottom right, if you want a one-on-one consultation about this, we have an UGOM clinic which is just right across the street in the Marriott. Please feel free to stop by. And thank you for your patience. We are open for any questions now. Yes.
I had 2 questions on the slide that had the 8 customer touch points. First question is the number of concentric circles of each touch point mean anything?
No.
And the second question is, why do you have onboarding so far past the sale? You said it was like 45 days or so.
It's 30 to 45 days, depending on the size of the customer and their willingness to engage. A lot of times it turns out to be you can't get the right people together based on calendars. We have things going on. Sometimes it's 90 days.
Yeah, because I saw there was like the first touch point was customer has an issue, and then you onboard them afterwards.
No. It's onboarding. That onboarding is really when it's complete.
So it wasn't necessarily linear.
No, not at all. It's just meant to reflect all the points.
With so many touch points, how's your response rate with your customers? Do you get enough of a response? They're being touched that many times throughout the process? What do you do to get a good response rate with so many points?
Yeah, good question. So response rate varies. We're not talking to all the same people all the time, right? So, and we know that that's an issue, and we're starting to play around with, well, maybe we should go electronic there and save them some time rather than scheduling like the onboarding. We're thinking maybe we'll just do an electronic piece. We're also looking at, are we getting really actionable data out of it, right? So it's constantly looking at it, but we're careful about not talking to the same people all the time. We have toxicity rules on the reactive support side, as an example. So we just watch it. Somebody had a question? Oh, sorry. So like if you submit a support case, you submit 3 in a month, you're not going to get 3 surveys. You'll only get 1. That way we're not oversaturating, and they just go, I just told you, you guys suck.
And your relationship questionnaire, is that closed loop?
Yeah. Almost everything is.
Coming out, the feedback you're following up on.
Yep.
Feedback is-
Yeah. So what happens is I mentioned that we record it and transcribe it. So I don't think Rima's here. She works for me. She actually listens, transcribes it, sends it to me. I look at it. I put in an executive summary. I put in my own comments as a program manager. I decide whether an action management case should be opened or not. And it's either an incident, meaning we got a big problem with this customer, or I'll open up a problem ticket. You know what, this is the sixth time I've heard this. Like our portal, our customer portal is a challenge. So we have a problem ticket on that, and that means we got a very systemic issue, and let's get a permanent fix for that. And we use Salesforce.com right now for the action management tracking.
And how many relationship questionnaires are you doing per month on average?
Well, we're 300 customers, right? So last year we did 220. Yeah. So we didn't hear from about 50% of customers. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but what I've worked out with our CSM global leader is we have a 3-strike rule. We try to reach you 3 times to do the survey. If the third time you say you're out, and we turn you red. And then the account team just goes, holy moly, I got a detractor, and all these bells and whistles go off, and what do you know, we start to get more feedback. So.
And then I had another question on your slide when you talked about customer actionable insights, or the actionable insights coming out of once you start using Qualtrics. Who is pulling together those actionable insights?
Me.
What role? So
Me,
it's
as a program manager. Yep.
success to you, in this case, that's actually pulling together the insights.
Yeah. So like, for example, I just published our first annual report, and it's got all the top 10 common themes. It's got, here's the top 3 big issues for the year that are problems that we're fixing. And I do that by touch point. And then quarterly I put out an analysis as well. And we're gonna start looking at Stats IQ, and my bosses here said, why don't you get together with the Qualtrics guys and talk about this whole IQ stuff they rolled out this morning. So we're going to start digging into that more, because now we got all this great feedback, right? It's not scalable for me to do all this analysis. First of all, I'm not an analyst, right? But I talked to so many customers, I got a really good feel, so it's working right now, but we can't scale, right? And plus I want to start doing the same thing with all these other touch points.
Who in the business gets the dashboards? Sorry, who in the business gets
Oh, who in the business gets a dashboard? So right now, it's any member of the account team and all members of our leadership team. And I suspect, based on things that I found out over the past couple of days with my boss, because we just went through this massive org change, it's going to go a lot wider. Yeah, it's going to be pretty wide. He wants to make a big splash. So, because what's really nice right now is, customer feedback is like, it's the thing right now. So, yes, sir. Then I'll go to you.
You talked about your health measure. What do you take into account besides voice of customer?
Yep, good question. So we look at, part of the enterprise business agreement includes prepaid production assurance credits, AKA consulting credits. So we look at, make sure the utilization is on track. There's a subjective piece from any member of the account team. We look at consumption, because we're on a token-based licensing model. So we look at consumption to see if they're on target, under target, and forecast, those types of things. Yeah, those are the big ones. And then, do you have another question?
Do you collect any data from your executive stakeholders? We struggle, we get lots of end user data, we get lots of kind of admin, mid-level data. Our senior stakeholders?
Yeah, these relationship surveys with the decision makers are usually director level and above. Yeah, and we talk to VPs and a couple C levels. It tends to, most of the time it's at the director or VP level. But depending on the really big deals, it's usually a C level. We also have executives have a relationship. Sorry, I got to go to the lady in the back.
Yeah, it's great to hear that the executive staff and that in general is like the hot thing at Autodesk now. I think a lot of what I've heard here is that people have a problem pushing that information out and democratizing it. It's not a build it, come sort of
Right.
thing. So what incentive are you guys, or are people incentivized to look at customer data at Autodesk?
That's a great question. So there's no compensation with anywhere relative to Net Promoter Score, right? But it's becoming just more of the culture, and because it's talked about at VP staff now, and because one of our strategic objectives at the CEO level is we're going to become a customer company, which means, you notice it's not customer centric, it's not customer focused. He says we're a customer company, meaning every experience has to be great, right? That's just going to be the way it is. And so it's really just timing. It's like a perfect storm just hit, you know? It's from my perspective, very gratifying. Because 6 months last year, I'm going, man, I'm busting my butt, nobody cares. But now it's completely opposite. And you'll see when we post these, sorry, you have a question? When we post these results, directors come to me and say, tell me more, right? Or the CSMs or the sales guy, or they'll invite me to the meeting and say, give us a debrief. So they're really on it.
Just had a question about, the differentiation between Lab and Qualtrics. So, we heard today about Qualtrics is a huge data science department, analytics and all that, but what part are you actually doing with Qualtrics? How does it do?
So specifically to implementation, I mean, if you sign up for a Qualtrics license, sorry. The implementation is done by but on the analytics one, what we saw today was a launch, was a Predict IQ analytics. But if you need help more from a consulting perspective, where we can do deep dive analytics into your specific use case, that is where someone is.
By the way, if anyone is an NPS person or wants to know more, or you're doing NPS, please reach out to me. I'd love to talk with you about what you're doing, and we can share information. And yes.
I have a question. It seems like the touch points were these individual surveys for each touch point?
Yep.
Okay, so at every journey you kind of measure it.
Yeah, so one of the things that I want to do is move away from these discrete touch points and go to, like on the reactive support side, it's from the moment the customer starts looking in our knowledge base, or going to Google, or going to our forums, and then eventually, or using chat, or hitting the portal. That's the technical support journey. I want to start measuring that versus just the closed case piece. Because we wouldn't have known about the portal unless somebody told us in the relationship survey. We had enough customers tell us. We know that's now a problem. Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Thank you all very much.
First off, hi, I'm Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
First off, I'm a married to an engineer.